The lake is actually been empty for a little while, but half empty anyway. Just started to refill it and the water's still going in, just literally just down there. There's about 4 people on this lake now, including me, so that's 5. I'm a bit disappointed about that. You know, if a carp suddenly shows itself, I can't even move to it. Out in the open, nothing's happened at all. It's been pretty quiet. I've had a few indications, but I think that's been carp going over my line. Yeah, what a lovely chunky carp. Right, I'm gonna get him back. Hopefully I'll get another one. Well, to celebrate that carp, I'm having a lovely cup of tea. That's good. Well, I'm back at the Monk Members Lakes. I haven't been here very long. Had a good look round to try and figure out where I was going to go. I knew I was going to go on the bigger fish lake as well. Haven't even had a go on there yet. I'll keep fishing the easier water just because I wanted to get some bites. I've had quite a few now out of there, so I'm happy enough fishing this lake for a little while. I may give it 1 or 2 sessions and then see what happens. If I struggle, then I probably will go back on the easier lake, because as it starts to get warmer, as we get closer to spawning, I reckon it's going to kick right off on that lake, and there's a lot of carp in there. There is some nice ones in there, there is some reasonably decent carp, but this one's got carp up to like 40 pounds, so that's where I'm on here. There's some big carp in here, and I definitely want to try and catch one. I've had a little lead around, and I've even got the marker float out as well, because I don't really know anything about this lake. Couldn't really find anything that interesting out there. It's pretty plain. The lake is actually been empty for a little while, but half empty anyway. They've just started to refill it and the water's still going in, just literally just down there in the next swim. Why they're filling it with water, before pretty much the islands were just literally, you couldn't fish the islands because it was so damn shallow up towards it. The water has been filling up and it looks really good, but I had a little lead around, marker floating around, and pretty much I would have to come back at least 4 to 5 foot off the island to even get into some reasonably decent water. It's really shallow still, so it's not completely full up the water yet. It's not completely filled. We're about a foot or 2 off, but I think round about the summertime, probably brilliant to get onto that island, you know, fish right up close in the shallow water. But as the sun's out and it's warm and we are into spring, I'm not entirely sure if they're going to go up there. It's just too shallow at the moment. It's like 2 foot. But as I come back about 4 foot from it, it did drop down to about 6 foot deep. But again, I wasn't interested that much on it, and I tried out in the open and I found it at 7 foot. So there's only a foot difference in water. So there's no point in me fishing up towards that island at the moment until maybe if I see something, or until the lake's actually full of water. Really, I'm not interested. So I decided to put 2 out into the open water. I've decided to go 11 wraps out. It's really comfortable, really easy, and I'm going to put 2 on that. And on the other rod, I had a little look around trying to figure out what I was going to do with that one, and I wasn't sure about it. And I know there's water going in the next swim down, but it's really shallow in front of it, like it's 2 foot deep in front of it, so there was no point in fishing there at all. But halfway between my swim and the next swim, it's okay. I've checked the depth, it's 3 foot deep, which is perfect. So I've decided to pull it about, I don't know, between 12 and 15 feet out from the bank, because it's all 3 foot along there, so it's really nice. I didn't want to go too close to the margin, and I didn't want to go too far out, so I've sort of figured out what I was going to do. There's a little bit of floating weed there as well, which I've sort of used as a marker at the moment. I mean, obviously it's going to float off eventually. Probably go there because that's where I was thinking about the depths are, so that's where I'm going to go. That's where I'm going to fish. I think I'm happy with those areas I've picked. Just need to get those rods out in those spots, put some bait in, and yeah, then hopefully I'll get something. All 3 of my rigs are on Ronnie rigs. 1 is on a lead clip and 2 on helicopter rigs. The lead clip is going to be fished down the margin, and the other 2 are helicopter out into the open water. So the one in the margin is on a all-nut wafter. That's a cork dust wafter, 15mm, and I've tipped it off with microplastic corn. And the other 2 that I'm fishing close together, one of them is on a 12mm yellow ocean fruit pop-up, and the other one is half an ocean fruit pop-up with an all-nut wafter. The mix is made up of ocean fruit bottom baits that I've grounded up to basically dust, and I'm putting in ocean fruit 12mm bottom baits as well in there. I've also got some all nut pellets as well, 6mm, and on top of that I've put some corn in there, lots and lots of corn, which is really good because they mostly feed them with pellets and maize in these lakes. That's what they use to feed them up. When there's hardly anyone fishing the lakes, they go up and throw a few scoops in just to keep the carp eating and keep them moving around. So that's the reason that I've gone for corn and pellets. But the boilies and the ground up boilies, just something extra. I'm hoping to use that to attract them in and keep them feeding on the spot. I'm also adding some glug to that. I've got some red lobster glug. It's a little bit oily. Normally I don't move on to oil unless it's really warm, but as it's been like 16-17 degrees every day, this literally running up to this session all week, it's been like it. I'm expecting them to be okay with oil. The water is definitely warmer than it should normally be this time of year as well, so I'm hoping that the oil really attracts them in. It's quite a thick liquid as well. It's slightly thicker and it's slightly obviously oily, like I said. But it does go really well with it, and I've only put a little bit in the mix as well. I've added a teeny bit as I've turned up as well, just to add a little bit of extra flavour. As what I'm using, I've only put in a couple of spoms over the 2 rods. I think I put in about 8, and down the margin I only put like 3 or 4 scoops in, so I haven't put too much in on that one. Just because they're putting that water in behind me, I think they're going to move down there. I think that's a good spot to try. I just think that extra water coming in might be bringing extra food bits and particles in there, and hopefully they'll get down to that margin area and start feeding at some point, because I really want to get a carp from here. It's been tricky. My last session I was fishing 3 nights at Yateley, and all I had to show for it was a loss, so I'm hoping to get one on this session, and hopefully it's a decent one, so let's see. Well, nothing has happened. It's been pretty quiet really. I did think about putting a zig out, but it started to get a bit cooler now, and we've only got like, I don't know, an hour or 2 till it gets dark, so I decided not to bother in the end. Been scanning the water, haven't really seen anything. I didn't see anything when I turned up, and now it seems to be a bit more different than it was when I turned up as well, because when I turned up there was only 1 person fishing. Pretty good, pretty quiet really. I could sort of figure out where I wanted to go, and I got, you know, plenty of swims to choose from. The lake is about sort of 4 or 5 acres, something like that, and there's plenty of water to choose from, and now there isn't really, because there's about 4 people on this lake now, including me, so that's 5. There isn't that many swims on it. I think there's about 10 or 12 swims on this lake, and yeah, it's kind of filling up, to be honest, and I'm a bit disappointed about that, because, you know, if a carp suddenly shows itself or something like that, I can't cast to it, and I can't even move to it, so I'm sort of stuck where I am at the moment. I'm just hoping the bait works and I'll start getting bites on it. I know it's a bit crazy putting out bait when it's spring. You should be fishing with little pop-ups and, you know, wafters and flicking a few baits over the top of it, and, you know, that kind of thing, little PVA bags and stuff. Solid bags work really well. I've done really well recently. Just I wanted to make a change. I wanted to do something different. I haven't put that much bait out. I've tried not to put too much out at all. It's mostly little bits anyway. There is some roach in here. They might eat some of the bits anyway, so at the moment I'm just sort of sitting back and waiting for something to happen really. I've had a few indications, but that's it. So pretty boring at the moment, but I'm sure I will get a bite. If it happens the way I think it's going to happen, I'm probably going to get it taken at night, just because recently it seems to be night bites, it seems to be happening. I'm sure I might do, maybe. I think there's a higher chance. It's meant to be a lot cooler tonight. It's meant to be about 5 degrees overnight, which is a little bit warmer than it has been recently overnight as well. And I do think they're going to start feeding at night because it's warm days. It's been high pressure as well, so they're not really going to do huge amounts during the day. I didn't think they were really. So if I get a bite during the night, it'd be pretty good. You are allowed to retain fish here, so I may retain them if it's any decent size, or if it is the only one I get, then that's, at least I've caught something, at least I've had bite. But we'll see if I get something. I'm just crossing my fingers I'm going to get a bite overnight. Hopefully I do. Well, I said a slightly bigger carp in here, and I was right. Just got this bite this morning, like literally the first half an hour of light, and gave me a right old scrap. Oh, 23 pound on the mutton. Pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. This is the one in the margin that was close enough to where the water's coming in, where they're pumping into the lake, filling it up, and it's the closest I could get to where the deepest water on an all nut wafter. I tipped off a little microplastic corn. Cannot believe this, absolutely amazing. Yeah, what a lovely chunky carp. Right, I'm going to get him back and hopefully I'll get another one. I'm quite surprised that I've had something actually. I really was expecting that I was going to blank, to be honest. I just don't know, just wasn't looking that good this morning. I didn't get anything overnight and I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Is this a blank? But nope, I cannot believe it. I had a bite out of nowhere, absolute nowhere. I had really high hopes on that margin one, but I don't know, wasn't sure. I had something, which is brilliant, and it's my first carp from this lake. Now there is only like, I don't know, 90 carp in here. There isn't that many, so to get one is really good. Be honest, that's probably the average. There is a few like mid doubles in here, but they did do a netting recently and it took out a load of low doubles, so most of the small ones in here are roughly sort of like, I don't know, like mid double. Might be a few of those around, but all the under £10 have been taken out. As many as they could take out anyway. So the average usually is £20 in here. To celebrate that carp, I'm having a lovely cup of tea. That's good. Always need to praise yourself for catching a carp by having a lovely cup of tea. I tell you what, the weather is completely different today. Yesterday it was really sunny and very warm. I think it was like 16 degrees, very, very sunny. And today it's miserable, cloudy, and pretty cool really. Completely and utterly different. I still think there could be a chance to get in one more. I did recast the margin one after I had that carp. I put some more bait in down the margin area. I had to wade in obviously like I did last time and cast around the corner. Out in the open, nothing's happened at all. It's been pretty quiet. Nothing's really happened. I've had a few indications, but I think that's been carp going over my line, because last night, literally just as it went dark, carp leaped over my lines about 6 foot out. So it definitely bumped into them, and I had a few indications overnight. So not knowing the lake, I didn't know where to go, but having the bite in the margin and having all those indications tells me that they're pretty close in really. So I definitely need to take that into account next time. For now, my plan is to just literally bring in both those rods, recast them. I'm going to put one on the bait spot, and I think I'm going to actually put the other one around the other corner and just cast a little bit long through the margin, and have that one around that side as well. So I have one on the right, one to the left, and then just one on the bait spot in the middle. I think that's probably my plan for next time as well. I think I'm just going to make sure I have at least 2 in the margins, either on the island or in the open water. Now I put off the island. I didn't think it was going to do anything. Wasn't, you know, too shallow, and the only fishable water was 6 feet deep, and out in the middle was 7 foot. So there was no real difference. Far from the island, you know, not that close to be honest, because I couldn't really find any decent depth. It's a couple of feet deep, like 2 foot, 2.5 foot, something like that, close to the island. And I didn't really want to fish it. I did find it was firm there, to be honest, but when the water's actually full, when the water actually is finally filled up to the maximum, I'm sure it's going to be about 3 foot on the island, which is going to be perfect. But I actually saw a carp roll on the island, and yeah, I should have had one on there. So that's my mistake. I don't know the lake. I thought it was too shallow, but turns out it's not. So, you know, I'm going to make a change. I'm definitely going to bring that one in. I'm not going to put it on the island. I'm just going to put it down the margin. I think the margin is the highest chance of me getting another bite. Yeah, and I'm just going to see how that goes, really. I'm just going to sit here and see what happens. I haven't got too long. I've only got about an hour or 2 left in my session, but, you know, never know. You never know. Well, we didn't manage to get anything else in the end. At least I had something. It's pretty good to get one when I've never fished this lake before and I don't really know anything about it, so it's pretty good to go in. Some of you might have noticed that my indicators are a bit weird. That's because I somehow lost mine and ended up making 2 out of components left over from my other indicator parts, and I had to go to the shop and buy one for the other rod, and absolute disaster. And that was my beginning. I didn't mention it, and then yeah, things got worse because I didn't get anything over the day, didn't get anything over the night, but managed to get one this morning, which I'm still happy with. I'm still ecstatic with that. What an amazing looking carp. Hopefully I'll come back soon, and hopefully I'll get an even bigger one. You never know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.